rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick, as if you didn't already know. Of course, you know, the audio portion of the program doesn't have the benefit of seeing my ugly mug on the screen, so I gotta announce who I am. I mean, isn't that kind of how they do that? Anyway, I don't know. Okay, so, folks, you may see some new people in the chat tonight on the Rumble side, if they decide to announce themselves. Bonnie, one of my longtime Whiskey Warrior P1s, suggested that I go and check out another show on Rumble. And I did. I kind of like the vibe, the feel of it. And so I extended a invite out to the host of that show, and I'll get to that here in a moment, to come here on the program and be on an interview with us. So you may see him come on over here, you know, in the near future. But anyway, so we'll see what happens. I sent him an email at his request, and so we'll see what's going on with all of that. So let's go ahead and do a quick round robin of where we're at over here on Facebook. We've got Tommy, I see Mark Lanham over on Facebook. I'm imagining I'll probably see Mark Wetzel over there too sometime in the near future. Becky is over on Rumble with Glow, Daybreak, Nana, Buddy Weiser, 3 Chevy, and Bonnie. Bonnie's there too. And let's see, who else? Oh, I can't forget My News. She's over there too. So there's pretty much everybody over there on the Rumble side. Glow, I already listen to Wendy Bell often. I pick her up in the morning because obviously I'm on the West Coast. For those of you that don't know, I'm on the West Coast, so everything is 3 hours ahead of time for me. Thankfully, though, my regular 9 to 5 is basically running off of Eastern time. Oh, Jarhead. Oh my God, I left you out. I didn't mean to, I swear. Hey, there's Pike Eric. Showed up. All right. So yeah, so there we go. And so, yes, Glow, I do listen. I don't often jump in the chat because I'm doing other things. But occasionally you'll see me there with Wendy Bell. And in fact, Wendy, put me on to the Battleground Live with Sean Parnell. And I tried to get Sean to come and do an interview, but we couldn't work out the logistics enough for him to come in and do a interview with me here. But I did listen also to Sean Parnell until he obviously went ahead and shut down because of his fantastic new job being the Pentagon spokesperson or spokesman. And of course, on his last episode, I did invite all of the battle crew, invited them to come on over and hang out. And that is where Glow comes from, as Glow just pointed out in the Rumble chat. So that's where Glow comes from, is that. There is Coco D, insert name here. There, she popped in. Hi, Coco. All right. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off here in the proper fashion. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be recited by Pops McGroin and partner. So if you would, please, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, and make sure to place your hand over your heart while we listen to Pops McGroin and partner recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
That's right. God bless America, and thank you for that wonderful rendition, Pops and partner. If you would like to hear your rendition here on the program, you can do so by recording yourself performing the pledge. And I don't care if it's either audio or video. I can do what I need to do with either one. But record yourself performing the pledge in your style and then send it off to me. Send it to fans at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation as soon as possible. Now, wait. Before I get to my headline sponsor, I got to do this. This is what Jarhead 13 comes here for. Are you ready, Jarhead? Here we go.
Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
And of course, that means it is Whiskey Wednesday. Whiskey Wednesday is like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. And for tonight's whiskey, I am drinking the Four Roses. Wow, I got that real close to the freaking camera. This is a Four Roses single barrel, which apparently, I think it was it Nana? Nana, were you the one that said, hold on, where did Nana go? Nana, yes, Nana has her first bottle of Four Roses today, small batch. This is single barrel, close enough, same. But anyway, so there we go. And of course, it is in the True Grit Roots Network glass with the stones in the bottom. As 3 Chevy says, it takes stones to drink with whiskey. Good stuff. I like it. All right. And of course, because we are in the TGRN glass for tonight, we have up on the sponsor, headline sponsor, TGRN.net. TGRN stands for True Grit Roots Network. That's right. It's a network of hopefully a bunch of radio stations. Right now, we have our signature Walter Trout Blues Radio or Blues Rock Radio playing right now. You can find us on the web at tgrn.net, and tgrn.net is where we live. You can find us there. You can listen right through the browser if you wish, or you can download our app from that location. There's links to get it from both the Google Play as well as the iOS App Store. Also, too, you can, if you already have the apps, the Live 365 app, the AUDACY, known as Odyssey app, or the iHeartRadio app, you can look us up in their catalogs of digital radio stations for it. That's Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio is the channel. Now we're getting ready. We're gonna be launching another channel. You heard it here because I was talking to Oogie. Remember, we went and did the Oogie interview, and he mentioned that come spring, so spring is really not that far off. We're in February right now. It's coming up quick, but we'll be launching another channel for that. It'll be Outlaw Country. Outlaw Country is coming to TGRN in the spring, and we're working toward that. More to come on those announcements, but hey, make sure you check us out, tgrn.net. That's TGRN as in Nancy.net. And you can come and check out all of our offerings right now under the Walter Trout Blues Radio signature channel. TGRN.net, True Grit Roots Network, based out of Austin, Texas. All right. So, where am I at? All right. So to get back to what I was talking about, there's this gentleman. His name is Todd. Not going to put out his last name, but Todd is he is a podcaster, kind of like me. He does a lot of politics. Today's episode wasn't quite on politics, but I got to tell you, it was still entertaining and informative. He apparently is trying to get his wife, Kendra, to show up. I hope I pronounced that right. To show up on Wednesdays for Wifey Wednesdays. So, yeah, it was kind of fun. But you know, if you're looking for something a little different, maybe you ought to go and check out the hot seat. The hot seat on Rumble, they've got about 2,000 followers over there. So you can go and check that out. Check out the hot seat over there. And, I mean, take a look. You know, again, one thing about doing stuff like this, okay, is the fact that you need to not only expand your horizons, but many of us who are small content creators, like such as what we have sitting here, between myself and, you know, Todd and so on and so forth, is that we've got to fit together. We've got to work together. We've got to band together, because as you saw during the 4 years of the Biden administration, and even slightly before that, there was a lot of conservatives being censored. And that is not, hopefully that, I mean, let's pray that that's not something that you really want to have happen under the Trump administration. I don't expect it, but don't get me wrong, there's still the possibility that people like myself could like disappear off of Facebook or YouTube or, you know, any of those others if they decide to change their minds about the censorship options. And so that's part of the reason why I keep pushing for Rumble, because Rumble is literally the free speech alternative to YouTube. They allow you to do all kinds of stuff. And of course, you know, in the podcasting space, it's not very difficult to get yourself onto a channel. What is difficult, of course, is growing channels and growing them. And so that's why we do stuff like this. That's why I do stuff like this. And I want to try and get Todd on the program so he can talk a little bit about himself. He can talk about his channel. He can gain a little bit more exposure. And of course, you know, reciprocal, hopefully my way, you know, as well. Because again, we all need to stick together, because we are the new media. We're not the ones that are out there with the, you know, millions of dollars of advertisements pouring in. We're individuals in terms of how we deal with this. And some of us, you know, we do it as a part-time job. Some of us actually have taken the plunge and are doing it as their full-time job. I myself would like to do it as a full-time job, but I'm not there yet. I've got to get, you know, I've got to get sponsors. I've got to get people, more and more people to come in. And so this is a labor of love per se for me, to be able to do this. And that's part of the reason why you guys are just absolutely fantastic. All my Whiskey Warrior P1s, especially those that have been around since the Whiskey Musings days, way back in the day. So, yeah, yeah, like Jarhead points out, we don't get the USAID grift either. So yeah. And so well, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, Tom, or not Tom, was it Todd and Dutt? Anyway, the guys on Booze and News tried with them, and we did a couple of great episodes. We got some crossovers going and things like that. This is essentially what we do. You know, we've got to help each other. And so that's why I'm going to advocate to just go and check them out. I mean, not every program, honestly, is going to be your cup of tea, but that's fine. That's what variety is. Variety is the spice of life. So yeah. And so anyway, Wifey Wednesday streamed today on the hot seat, over on Rumble. So yeah, so there you go. Pi, one of the things I don't think you guys realize, but there is a segment that I've used a few times called Highlighting America. And one of the things that I want to do with that segment, and I haven't been able to really, get it off the ground completely, but one of the things that I want to do with that segment is I want to go and highlight people that are doing things in America that reflect America. And so, Pi, if you're willing to reach out to your cousin about that, I'd be interested in bringing him on for an interview if he wants to. It would be just to be able to talk about his show. So yeah, just reach out to him, have him reach out to me. You can send it off to fans at AmericanPerspective.online, or actually tips at AmericanPerspective.online. Tips at AmericanPerspective.online would probably be the best place to go. So yeah. And yeah, I again, I would love to grow this channel. I'd love to grow other channels. And so that's why I do some of these things. So anyway. All right. So we've got some breaking news. Couple of things. First of all, let me go ahead and jump over here to my phone really quickly. Breaking news from John Solomon. Whoops. From John Solomon's Just the News. A Florida Court of Appeals has now allowed President Donald John Trump. Okay. Donald John Trump. They have granted his lawsuit against the Pulitzer Board to continue, ruling that the president had met his burden of proof and that there was actual malice and bias against him. So the defamation lawsuit stems from a Pulitzer Board decision to award a prize to the New York Times and the Washington Post for reporting about the alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, keep in mind that that was false, we know. And the president claimed that he was defamed in a statement from the Pulitzer Board, which came after Trump had asked him to rescind the 2018 award. So Trump filed the initial lawsuit in 2022. A 3-judge panel on the 4th District Court of Appeals ruled that Trump has met his burden of proof and established jurisdiction to proceed with the case. So, yeah, they pretty much, because I guess the original court threw it out. The trial court denied the, the trial court correctly denied the non-resident defendant's motion to dismiss the president's claim. So the trial court originally sided with the president and said it could move forward. It was appealed, and so now the Circuit Court of Appeals, where was I? I lost it. The Florida Court of Appeals said that that they were right in their response, and they sent it. So there you go. There you go. So that's breaking news. Also breaking news right here. Losing my buttons. Right here in Red State, breaking Pam Bondi. I keep wanting to call her Pat. I don't know why. I got to get that out of my head. But anyway, Pam Bondi, the new AG, the new Attorney General for the United States, has filed charges against the state of New York and Governor Hochul over illegal aliens. Now, you recall that Tom Homan, in some of his interviews, mentioned this, that if they are helping or are harboring illegal aliens, they are actually breaking the law. And so Wednesday, she announced that the federal Department of Justice has filed charges against the state of New York, as well as against state figures, including Kathy Hochul, Attorney General Letitia James, Yeah, she really needs it. And Department of Motor Vehicles Commissioner Mark Schroeder, she said, quote, "We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul, Letitia James, Mark Schroeder, who is with the DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms like the mom standing right behind me here, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today." So the charges accuse New York and its officials of violating immigration laws, which are federal laws, by the way. And she continued and said, "President Trump has directed this to stop. And if you don't comply with federal law, we will hold you accountable. We did it to an Illinois. Strike one, strike two is New York. And if you are a state not complying with federal law, you're next. Get ready." So she is jumping in full on, full feet going on here. So, yeah. As I was saying before, this shouldn't come as a huge surprise because Border Czar Tom, they're calling him the Hammer. I like that. Tom the Hammer Homan has not been shy about proclaiming that any state, city, or other local officials who attempt to impede federal officials in their tasks of locating, detaining, and repatriating illegal aliens would face federal charges. So our AG, Pam Bondi, would appear to be serious about this as well. And that's as it should be, because, of course, President Trump made mass repatriations an issue in his campaign. He spoke long and repeatedly on the topic, and a considerable percentage of Americans in recent surveys all support the effort. So there we go. We'll see how long it takes Pam Bondi to see, I got it right there. Pam Bondi to set her sights on other states like California, Washington, and Oregon. California, of course, is the state with the highest number of illegal aliens. California Assembly is already appropriating funds to shelter illegal aliens. And, yeah, that may be AG Bondi's next battlefield, they say. So we'll see what happens, but that's breaking news right here. It popped up right when I was looking at my setup here, when I was getting my setup going. So, yep. Things are a changing. Anybody tired of winning yet? Just curious. All right. Well, other good news that came out today, which is actually fantastic because I'm getting a little tired of seeing all these senators whining on X in particular about things like Tulsi Gabbard. Now, they kind of left Tulsi Gabbard alone, honestly, once Kash Patel sort of entered the process. And I'm just saying, they're really worried about Kash Patel. They've also sort of forgotten a little bit about RFK Jr., but more on him in just a minute. So Tulsi Gabbard, and believe me, Senator Patty Murray, she was posting on X, and man, I am so embarrassed that her and freaking Pramila Jayapal represent my state in the face of the nation. I mean, just seriously. Anyway, here you can see this in the Daily Wire. The Senate finally confirmed Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence. So a GOP-led Senate, of course, confirmed her, I should say. And she is a woman, by the way. Like, she tells you she's a woman. Anyway. So the Democrats and the independents who caucus with the Democrats became unified in opposing Gabbard. But apparently that wasn't enough. Now, the final vote, which had been pushed back from the overnight hours while a storm had blanketed Washington, D.C. with snow, ended up being 52-48. Mostly along party lines. Well, the turtle, Senator Mitch, we'll leave that alone, McConnell, was the singular GOP lawmaker to vote against Gabbard's confirmation. So just to remind everybody, Gabbard is a combat veteran, former House lawmaker from Hawaii, ex-vice chairwoman of the DNC, and a 2020 presidential candidate. She broke with the Democrat Party in 2022. Trump nominated Gabby for the spy chief role in November after she endorsed his 2024 campaign and served on his transition team. Trump said in a statement, "I am pleased to announce that former Congresswoman Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard will serve as the DNI. For over 2 decades, Tulsi has fought for our country and the freedoms of all Americans." As a former candidate for the Democrat presidential nomination, she has broad support in both parties. She is now a proud Republican. I know Tulsi will bring the fearless spirit that has defined her illustrious career to our intelligence community, championing our constitutional rights and securing peace through strength. Tulsi will make us all proud. So, yeah. During her confirmation hearing, Gabbard had testified about ending the politicization of intelligence and restoring trust in the national security apparatus tasked with protecting American citizens. Gabbard has also called out what she said were attempts by critics to cast herself and Trump as a puppet to others, claiming that what truly unsettles them is that, quote, "I refuse to be their puppet." So, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Anyway. So last week, the Senate Intelligence Committee voted 9-8 along party lines to advance her. This is nothing unusual. We're getting a lot of party line votes. No surprise. But after, and this, of course, was after Gabbard had won over Senators Susan Collins and Todd Young. Lisa Murkowski and, of course, Bill Cassidy announced on Monday when the Senate broke the filibuster on Gabbard's nomination. Speaking of breaking the filibuster, that brings me to the wonderful RFK Jr. The Senate has now broken the filibuster on RFK's nomination process. The vote to break what's called cloture, C-L-O-T-U-R-E, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. But anyway, it broke along party lines 53-47. And so they broke the filibuster for him to become the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, the vote to break the cloture was along party lines again, 53-47. And after the debate on the cabinet pick wraps up, the final confirmation vote is expected tomorrow. So again, they've broken the filibuster, and because they've broken the filibuster, that means that the Democrats can do nothing but sit there and do their vote. Now, of course, we all know they're going to vote no, but we can hope and pray that the few Republicans, that are in the Senate keep their heads and their butts, realistically, in line, and will confirm this man to allow him to become the head of Health and Human Services. Okay, so we'll see how this breaks out, or how this breaks out, honestly. But yeah. So Kennedy earned his reputation as an environmental lawyer and best-selling author, but in recent years, he's garnered attention for his skeptical stance on vaccines. During his confirmation hearings, Kennedy Jr. denied that he was anti-vaccine, insisting that he was rather pro-safety. He also vowed to transfer his financial interests in lawsuits connected to vaccines to his adult son. So a critical breakthrough happened right before Kennedy was advanced out of committee 1413 along party lines last week. Senator Bill Cassidy, a doctor who previously said that he was struggling with the nomination, announced that he would support Kennedy. After intense conversations with him and the White House over the weekend, right up until the morning of the vote. Cassidy said, "I want to thank Vice President J.D. Vance specifically for his honest counsel. With the serious commitments I've received from the administration and the opportunity to make progress on the issues we agree on, like healthy foods and a pro-American agenda, I will vote yes." So, yeah, the final confirmation vote is likely to be close. So the Republicans have a 53-47 majority in the Senate, but not all of them may vote for him. You might see the turtle Mitch McConnell show up again on the opposite side. Now, Senator John Fetterman, who is a Democrat from Pennsylvania, showed some openness to some of Trump's nominees, but said last week that he would not vote for either Kennedy or Gabbard, and was, who obviously I just said was ultimately confirmed. So there you go. Yep. So there you go. All right. Well, there's some new information. Speaking of Tom Homan and his ICE set. Oh, Rumblers, I have been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this moment only because I have added something to the effect, the small effect. I know. It's, it's stuff like this that we just gotta laugh at. But anyway, let's see if it fires off here, folks, because my Rumble chat is... That's right. They're nuts. Oh, there you go. There you go. Anyway, all right. So, as you know, some of ICE's raids have been warned for all of that. Okay. And, let's holler out to Imperfectly Angie. Thank you for coming over from Todd's show. We'll see if we can get Todd over here on the program. That would be kind of cool. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So there was, definitely give him a warm Whiskey Warrior welcome over to Imperfectly Angie for sure. So, but anyway, as I was saying, ICE has had some problems. They've had some of their raids have been leaked to the individuals that are being raided. And that's been a bit of a problem. Well, they got at least one of these leakers. And let me just tell you, one of these leakers... This is part of the reason why Kash Patel. Now, I gotta follow up with this because I kind of got distracted. Kash Patel has now been accused of being a coordinator for all of the FBI people that have been fired. Okay, and it's basically they kind of talked. They've been saying that because Kash Patel is, connected in or whatever with the FBI, that he's been the one who's been orchestrating all the firings. The guy's not even confirmed yet. He isn't even out of committee yet. And the Democrat left are trying to blame him for all of these FBI people getting fired and stuff. And so anyway, they've been posting this and pushing this out. Well, this particular article here, this is the one that I got to tell you, this gives you the idea as to why we need to get rid of some of these people in the FBI. So go and take a look here. This is the Daily Fetched. FBI leaker caught tipping off Venezuelan gang ahead of the ICE raids. Folks, just that headline alone is enough for you to think, hey, we've got some serious problems. Why do you think Trump and crew, because let's face it, most of us who voted for Trump, we voted for what Trump was going to do, but we also voted for the people that he was bringing with him, like Elon Musk, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Kash Patel, and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, according to this piece, an agent inside of the FBI has been caught red-handed tipping off members of a brutal Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Agua, allowing them to evade capture by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. Tom Homan told Sean Hannity that he and the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem have likely identified the culprit. Homan said that the suspected agent would not only lose their job and pension, but could also face jail time. Homan said about recent leaks to the members of the Tren de Aragua gang in Aurora, Colorado, and Los Angeles, California, quote, "We think it's coming from inside the FBI." He said, "We know the first leak in Aurora is under current investigation. We think we've identified that person under investigation. Right now, the California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI. So I guess fidelity, bravery, and integrity mean nothing to anyone who is in the FBI. But anyway, so now they think that they found him. Yeah. So there we go. Noem called out the deep state agents within the FBI for disrupting the raids. FBI is so corrupt, she wrote on the social media platform X. We will work with any and every agency to stop leaks and prosecute these crooked deep state agents to the fullest extent of the law. So, yeah, Pam Bondi. Hey, I got it right that time. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi promised to find and prosecute those responsible for the leaks. Bondi said, "It's not going to stop our mission. It's not going to stop the president's mission to make America safe again." So they are going after. Now, as of right now, a total of 194 members of Tren de Aragua have been arrested between January 21st and February 3rd. ICE confirmed. So, yeah. And by the way, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt confirmed that President Trump received assurances from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro that he would accept the gang members after they are deported back to their home country. So there you go. Another win. Another win. Well, folks, we're still dealing with the backlash of course, the 2020 election, and even questioning some of the results of the 2024 election. Okay. And so some of this, I just got to say, with the amount of anecdotal and circumstantial evidence that seems to keep coming and keep showing up, it would warrant to any particular intelligent individual the idea that they should be looking into the 2020 election as well as 2022 and 2024. Okay. They should continue to look into these places. Well, this article came out in the Federalist, and I got to tell you, it's something as simple as this that could be a trigger for a full and complete audit. And we should have a full and complete audit across the entire United States. Take a look at this. So here in the Federalist, Pennsylvania's message to voters after ballot receipts flipped candidates. Wait, what? Ballot receipt? I thought that this kind of thing didn't happen. I thought that the machines were perfect. I thought that these machines were unhackable, that they couldn't do these kinds of things. The coding was perfect. You know, all of the stuff that the left kept talking about over and over and over again with regards to this. Apparently not. So, I guess instead of actually reading the English, we all now have to read barcodes, according to Pennsylvania. So, the sub-headline here says, if the words on the receipt reflect the wrong choices, how does a voter know their vote is being counted correctly? It said, just read the barcode. Yeah, like we're going to all read the barcode. I don't know if anybody, now you can actually, just side note, you can actually get an app that will read barcodes on your phones for the most part. At least I know on the Android side you can. I don't know about the Apple side. But apparently what happened here was there was a 2023 municipal election in Northampton County, Pennsylvania. And according to arguments last week in the Commonwealth Court, they basically were saying, well, you know, just learn how to read barcodes. Just learn how to read barcodes. And so anyway, PA Fair Elections, Heather Honey, who is an analyst and election systems expert, and Stacy Redfield, a Northampton County precinct election judge, went to court seeking remedies to make sure that election integrity issues like this don't happen again. They brought a case against the Pennsylvania Department of State, okay? And Secretary of the Commonwealth Al Schmidt, Northampton County, and its election board. So here's what happened, all right? Judges are on the ballot for retention votes every 10 years in Pennsylvania. The ballot asks if a judge should be retained for an additional term, and your voters are supposed to say yes or no. Fairly simple, right? Okay. Except in 2023. Now, in 2023, there happened to be 2 judge retention races that were on the ballot. All right. That year, the voters who voted yes for one judge, but no for the other, all of a sudden noticed that the names on the paper ballot receipt printed were exactly the opposite of what their touchscreen vote was. Now, despite the words, so this is the thing about it, is that despite the words on the paper ballot receipt indicating the opposite of the voter's intention, the barcode did actually have the correct information. And that way, which is basically what the county official said in court testimony, the barcodes themselves are the ones that were actually tallied the way that the voters intended. However, you don't know if you're a voter because unless you are fluent in barcode, okay, you're not going to know. So Michael Vargo, who is an attorney representing the Northampton County Elections Commission, told The court in a February 5th hearing, quote, the barcode can be double checked. The barcode is just a pattern of thin and thick lines. Now, a judge, of course, asked, how can a person read the barcode? Vargo responded, the same way a person can read, you would have to be taught, just like you had to be taught at some point how to read letters, how to read numbers. You'd have to be taught. I mean, seriously, he was stammering his way through the answer. But yeah. So come on, folks. Let's just be real. So Northampton, according to the piece here, is one of 3 Pennsylvania counties that use the ES&S Express Vote XL voting machine. It's a hybrid ballot marking device and tabulator in one. Cumberland and Philadelphia counties in Pennsylvania also use the machine. Now, ES&S did not respond for a request to comment on this story. So here's the thing, folks. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. How do we know? How do we seriously know that shenanigans and things like this don't happen? They do. I'm just telling you, they do happen all the time. But how do we know that this stuff isn't happening on a regular basis? How do we know? Because we are so ingrained with our electronic ideas, and we're supposed to just trust. We're just supposed to trust. And yet, when things like this come up that negate that trust, is essentially looking at and understanding the idea that, you know, it's every single issue that you run across like this is destroying the integrity of the system. If you were to go and have a 100% perfect system, and believe me, it doesn't exist, but if you were to have a 100% perfect system, all it would take is one flub up like this, and realistically, logically, and any person with reason should automatically question the accuracy and validity of what they are seeing throughout these situations. This is, I mean, yeah, this is not something that should be taken lightly. Regardless of whether or not the outcome was actually correct, we need to understand the underlying occurrence in terms of what happened here. Why did this happen? Was it a coding error? Was it an update that had a coding error in it? I mean, I deal with software updates and firmware updates all the time in my regular job, and I can tell you that this kind of stuff is not at all exceptional. In fact, it occurs quite often. You'll see it oftentimes. You'll see that the code, something in the code screwed up when you see a patch come out, and then immediately after that, an additional patch come out saying, hey, we're fixing some bugs. So, yeah. Anyway, the ES&S Vice President Linda Bennett spoke about the 2023 errors in a press conference that particular election day, describing the issue as human error based on programming by somebody at ES&S. Then it said that the logic and accuracy testing missed the error, but it is something that should have been caught. Well, you're right. It should have been. So in that particular case, that machine, by the way, voters make their choices by computer touchscreen, and when done voting, the machine generates a paper ballot receipt. Seen through a window in the on the voting machine, the voter reads the words on the printed paper ballot receipt to assure their votes were recorded properly. Once confirmed, then the paper ballot is counted electronically when the machine scans the barcode on the paper ballot as the machine moves the ballot to a holding container. Yeah. So anyway, so here is part of the reason why this didn't hit the nationwide stuff is because 2023 was not a federal election. Federal Help America Vote Act laws do not apply. But the problems that would not meet the HAVA rules should be prevented so they don't happen in a federal election. So this was a local election that this demonstrated or showed up. Now, they're using the same machines, by the way, for both the federal elections as well as the local elections. So how do we know? How do we know that this has not shown up? Now, the HAVA requires that voting machines must have a manual audit capacity. So that is that the paper ballots can be counted by hand in a audit. So, yeah. Anyway. So, and yet we're supposed to agree and no, no, the Dominion machines were not moved. These are ES&S machines. So it's somebody else, a different manufacturer. Now, PA Fair Elections argued that the error rate was too high on these machines to actually comply with the HAVA requirements. So that's why they weren't used. So anyway, yeah. PA Fair Elections is suggesting that the county switch to a different machine, but neither the county nor the state actually want to. The attorney for the machine manufacturer Vargo told the court, the appropriate remedy has already been implemented, and for the appropriate remedy, it is not the extreme remedy of requiring not just for Northampton County, but also one of the largest counties in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia County, to get rid of all of their voting machines. The appropriate remedy is to alter the testing to ensure that this error can't happen. And that's already been done, he claimed. So the relief, the most appropriate, has already been granted. So, yep. Attorney Gregory Darr from the Department of State said, PA Fair Elections is essentially asking for this voting machine to be decertified. But he told the court that it does comply with HAVA. So we'll see where this ends up. Yeah, the Commonwealth Court apparently could take weeks to write opinions on this. So we'll just have to see where this goes. But yeah, our elections are free, fair, and secure. Sure. So this comes out. Do you honestly believe out of 50 states that something like this comes out, that we're going to end up in a situation where this kind of thing doesn't happen across all of our United States? I mean, let's be serious about this. You know, the chances, the probability increases every single time something like this occurs. The probability increases all the time whenever something like this occurs. And, the Dems and the left, they just want to bury their heads in the sand and not do anything about it. This is crazy. This is ridiculous, to be honest with you. So I don't know where this case is going to go. We'll have to see, but yeah, it's definitely concerning anytime you see these cases, which, again, keep in mind, the left was talking about in 2020. They were all saying, oh, no. Nothing happened. It was the most secure election and ever. Yeah. Yep. Sure it was. Just like, all of the illegal aliens that were voting that have been signed up to vote. Yeah. Speaking of voting, I know we just got finished with 2024. We're 3 weeks into a new administration. We haven't even gotten a full cabinet confirmed yet. We're still trying to deal with some of the new stuff that's coming out. But the forecasters, the pundits, the political pundits, like the People's Pundit, and all of the pollsters have decided, 2024 is over. And now they're starting to set their sights on the next election, which is in 2 years, midterms. Now, most of the time we look at it, we say, hey, you know what? We're not we're not really interested in the midterms just yet. But these people, they need to forecast. They need to look forward to see what is potentially coming. And so the first forecast has apparently been released. This in the Daily Wire. The first 2026 Senate forecast spells more bad news for Dems. Now, first of all, don't take this to heart. This is an initial forecast. We're talking, close to 2 years away. Oh, yeah, Rich Barris. Can't forget Rich Barris. Glow mentions Rich Barris, People's Pundit, another great Rumble show. But anyway, as I was saying, so the first Senate forecast has tossed it out. Okay. And right now it is a little too far out to be paying attention to, but it's kind of fun just to see because everybody's thinking, a lot of people are sitting here thinking, yeah, when 2028 comes around, who are we going to pick? We're going to pick J.D. Vance. Well, J.D. Vance definitely is a contender. And I've seen, pollsters, and by pollsters, I mean somebody who just posted a poll on social media who basically are like, hey, would you vote for J.D. Vance? And of course, my response pretty much is this. I'm not 100% set on who I'm going to vote for, but as far as that goes, okay, yeah, he is on the docket. Becky on Facebook points out, should try and get Savage Rich Barris. I don't know. Maybe I will. Let me see. We'll just have to see. So anyway, there's a lot of time between now and 2026, folks, a lot of time. And to sit here and to look at this and be like it's sort of like forecasting the weather. Let's be honest with you. I usually tell people, hey, when you're looking at the weather forecast, realistically, only the next 24 hours is going to be the most accurate. Anything beyond that, you might as well throw it out. It might give you an idea of what's going on, but the details are going to get lost in terms of the distance of time between then and now. But here, just to entertain myself with a little bit, and entertain you, of course, with a little bit of prognostication, I think is the way. Anyway, the first 2026 Senate forecast spells more bad news for Dems. Republicans are heavily favored to keep control of the Senate and also have a good chance to build on their majority. Now, honestly, this sounds good to me. I would like to see it. So the first forecast from Cook Political Report shows that Republicans have an edge to keep control and potentially flip 2 more Democrat seats, while Democrats have no clear path to winning back the Senate. Okay, now keep in mind, all right, the Senate, or sorry, not the Senate, but the vision or the view of the American public of the Democrat Party, their approval rating is in the toilet. They're in like the mid 30s on average today. Okay. So the question is going to be, what is it going to look like in the midterms? So here in the piece, again, from the Daily Wire, after riding a wave of support from President Donald Trump in the 2024 election, Republicans now hold a 53-seat majority, giving the party control of Congress and the White House. Of the 35 seats up for election in 2026, 2 are currently controlled by Democrats that are at risk of flipping to the GOP. According to Cook Political Report, the race for Democrat Senator John Ossoff's seat in Georgia is currently rated as a toss-up, as is the race for the open Senate seat in Michigan, which is being vacated by retiring Democrat Senator Gary Peters. Now, of the 12 Democrat-held seats up for election in 2026, one of them, Senator Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire is lean D, while another Senator Tina Smith in Minnesota, I believe, Minnesota, is likely D, while the rest of the races are safely in Democrat hands as of today. Republicans, meanwhile, have two races that Cook Political Report has lean R, which is Susan Collins in Maine and Tom Tillis in North Carolina, and then one that is rated likely R, which is Senator John Husted in Ohio. So for the Democrats to actually regain control of the Senate, they would have to pull off upsets in each of the three races where Republicans hold an advantage and pull off one singular major upset in one of the other 19 seats considered safely Republican. So it looks like, at least today, it looks like that we could be looking at least the Senate hanging on for the Republican side if things hold the way that they are being forecasted. Georgia and Michigan would likely be the most closely followed races during 2026. Ossoff, who won the seat in 2020 after going to a runoff election, will face a tough challenge to keep his seat. Multiple Georgia Republicans, including Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State of Brad Raffensperger, have been floated as potential candidates against him, but no one's officially announced, which, seriously, why would they announce this far forward? Anyway, in Michigan, Pete Buttigieg has been floated as a potential candidate for Senator Peters' seat, the former presidential candidate and Biden's Secretary of Transportation. He actually moved to Traverse City, Michigan around 2 years ago. Michigan Republican Senate Minority Leader Eric Nesbitt announced his campaign for the Senate last month. And longtime Detroit Democratic Mayor Mike Duggan announced in December that he is running for the position as an independent. Other Republicans reportedly considering a run for the Senate in Michigan include Representative John James, former representative and 2024 Senate candidate Mike Rogers, and conservative media personality Tudor Dixon, the 2022 Michigan GOP nominee for governor. So they also call out some other interesting races to watch, which will be the Florida Senate election. Ashley Moody, appointed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, will run to keep the seat that formerly belonged to current Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Cook Report labels that race as a solid R. So that one's probably not going to make it, but Buttigieg. Yeah. Anybody with any amount of sense would just freaking dismiss him out of hand. They should dismiss Kamala Harris too out of hand, but Kamala Harris, whatever. All right, speaking of Kamala Harris, that brings us to California. So here's one of the biggest things that have been going on that a lot of people are not really, I don't know if they're necessarily paying attention to this, but it really is a indication of the mood with which the country is actually trending toward. Now, obviously, you see the polls, like for an example, the polls where President Donald Trump currently has a higher than ever approval rating, which is essentially in the 50s right now. But also, too, a lot of people, even Democrats, are admitting the fact that Donald Trump is actually delivering on the promises that he put forth in his campaign. And that roughly 70% of the people polled are essentially saying that Donald Trump is doing what he promised, which I'll be honest with you, if more politicians actually do that, they could probably, stay in office, as much as I hate to say it, but stay in office a lot more if they actually could do what they said that they were going to do. All of that being the case, one thing that a lot of people tend to do, especially those of us in these leftist strongholds, let's say, is we tend to vote with our feet. And in this particular case, as you've seen in the past, which in fact, don't forget the whole conversation that I've even had, or the announcement and the conversations that I've even had with regards to the last census that got screwed up, that the electoral votes and appropriations, as well as assigning seats in the House of Representatives, all comes from the census. And when the census is done every 10 years and you see a net negative in population for the Democrat-run states, you can kind of see where the general mood, or at least get an idea of what the general mood of the country may be. Well, one of the things that also occurs is when you see business, because business has to deal with things like taxes, regulations, and things that will cause them to either lose money or ideally gain money. So one of the things that you'll see with regards to what the mood of business is again, just like with population, people will, and businesses fall in this, will vote with their feet. So here in red state, Texas gains another big employer at California's expense. So again, one of the things that people don't seem to understand is that Democrat policies tend to be anti-business. They are anti-capitalist in nature, and they tend to hurt and attack businesses. Okay? So what ends up happening, and this is what a lot of leftist politicians seem to unable to understand, is that when you reward certain behaviors, you get more from them. And when you penalize certain behaviors, you get less of them. So liberals choose to reward behaviors such as illegal aliens and then act shocked to find their communities being overrun by illegal aliens. Well, the same thing goes to when it applies to businesses. California has become, and this is from the piece, California has become an increasingly hostile environment for business over the last decade or two, while another larger state is openly trying to recruit businesses by advertising low taxes, low regulations, and low real estate. And now another major corporation has decided to leave California and move to the Lone Star State. So Realtor.com, which is a subsidiary of Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, has announced that it is relocating its headquarters from Santa Clara, California, to Austin, Texas. The real estate's listing site's move comes after companies such as SpaceX, Chevron, Oracle have all made the move from California. Texas has waged a charm offensive on companies touting its low taxes and limited regulation. Now, according to the piece here, keep in mind that Texas is booming. Former Golden State, California, is not so much. Which, honestly, if you can exclude government, which is part of the reason why I look at, Washington in a bit of the same way, and that's where I'm from. It's not the environment. It's not the weather. It's not it's essentially, there's a lot of reasons to love Washington. I mean, as I've pointed out here in my general area, I can drive roughly an hour and a half each direction, and I can go off to the beach and see the Pacific Ocean in 2 hours, or I can go to the other direction and go to the mountains in 2 hours. I have a rainforest a couple of hours away from this too. Thanks for the reminder, Bonnie. I appreciate that. And so it's not the environment that I don't like. I love it here. I look around, I see mountains everywhere, which is fantastic. Okay. I'm not really in the mood for flatland. The problem is the regulations, the overbearing Democrats, and of course the morons that keep voting those overbearing Democrats in, and then of course complain about the overbearing Democrats. That just always kicks me in the pants. But anyway, so Texas and California. So here in the piece, moving from the Golden State to the Lone Star State, they say that it's sad that the formerly Golden State is not booming because California really has a lot going for it if you exclude the government. The author says, I've spent quite a bit of time there. In fact, on 2 different occasions for over a year, I maintained an apartment while working there, a year and a half in Santa Clarita and a year in Silicon Valley. California is a beautiful place. Climate is salubrious. Anyway, he says that this person says that the winters are much milder than Alaska's. No kidding. And if you're suffering from the heat inland, as I did my first summer in Santa Clarita, you can just drive down to the beach and realize roughly a 30-degree drop in temperature. Wide range of landscapes, deserts, beaches, farmlands, mountains. California, according to the author, is just a lovely place. But boy, to have a super majority Democrat in Sacramento really messes it up. And of course, as you can see, the past regulations burned Los Angeles to the ground. Okay. So he continues here and says the Lone Star State has established new business courts to tackle corporate disputes, a fact that many companies find attractive about incorporating in Delaware. Now, for those of you that don't know, Delaware is a very common place to go and incorporate your business because of the fact that you have things like business courts and a very business friendly in terms of the ability of incorporating your business there really easily. So Realtor.com CEO Damian Eales said that he was also attracted to Texas's expanding housing stock, low cost of living, and growing talent of workers. He said, there's no better place for us to call home. Over the years, we are committed to growing our presence by hiring great local talent and bringing new recruits to Texas. Now, I mean, if you think about it, even the Daily Wire left, they moved actually to Tennessee, even though Ben Shapiro actually lives in Florida, but they moved to Tennessee, which is, a lot better in terms of that. So, the challenge here is going to be the movement of people going around from different states, state to state, and things are going to start scooting toward a certain direction because let's face it, people even if they vote for the crap, I mean, let's just face it, even if they vote for the crap, okay, and they continue to vote, as my friend Steven Stiles talks about Boise all the time. He's like, man, the Californians that are coming here, they're messing everything up. Well, that's just because they're not smart. But the reality of it is that as long as states take on pro-business policies, low regulation, low taxes, and can keep their cost of living low, you're going to see these states gain in business and make things boom for their economies. So there you go. And unfortunately, the sad part about all of this is that the Democrats will never learn. They'll never learn that being pro-business is good for your people. It's good for the American people. And that's, of course, what Donald Trump also brings to the table as far as that goes. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, last little thing. All right, on the international front. So you know how Netanyahu and Trump met, and Trump kind of floated the idea of us taking over Gaza and floated the comment that if Hamas doesn't return all of the hostages, that it is potentially going to be detrimental, of course, to the people in the Gaza Strip, that the fighting itself is going to be resumed. He also, excuse me, Donald Trump also put forth a cutoff time of this Saturday at noon. And yes, Bonnie points out, hell will rain down. That's what Donald Trump, I think, said. Maybe not an exact quote, but pretty close. Well, now, according to Newsmax World, Netanyahu has agreed with that statement. Netanyahu says fighting in Gaza resumes if hostages aren't released Saturday. So he made this comment on Tuesday. He threatened to resume fighting in the Gaza Strip unless its hostages in Gaza are released. Here's the thing, folks. Let's be honest. The hostages that are left over probably are not alive. I'm just going to say that. Okay. Oh, that's a good question, 3 Chevy. I don't think I've ever had it clarified. 3 Chevy points out, is that noon our time, meaning Eastern time, or their time? Yeah, I don't think that's ever been clarified. But anyway, the ceasefire itself, which was negotiated before Donald Trump became president, has been called into question as Hamas claims that Israel violated key provisions, prompting to call off the release of 3 more hostages last Saturday. U.S. President Donald Trump emboldened Israel to call for the release of the remaining hostages rather than just the 3 scheduled to be freed in the next exchange. So an Israeli official says that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday ordered the army to add more troops in and around the Gaza Strip after Hamas threatened to call off the next scheduled release of hostages. Netanyahu ordered officials to prepare for every scenario if Hamas doesn't release our hostages this Saturday. According to the official who spoke on the condition of anonymity, as they always do, to discuss a private meeting, the official was not clear if Netanyahu's order referred to the release of all of the remaining hostages in Gaza or just the 3 that were scheduled. So yeah. Anyway, Israel signaled Monday that it planned to reinforce defenses along the Gaza border. The all-scenario plan was announced during a 4-hour meeting between Netanyahu and his security cabinet that focused on the Hamas threat, which risks jeopardizing the 3-week-old ceasefire. Yeah. So anyway, so far, Hamas has released 21 hostages in a series of exchanges for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Wait a minute, we as in the Western world are getting 21 while they get hundreds? That sounds like a bit of an imbalance. Anyway. But Hamas said Monday and reiterated again, on Tuesday, that it planned to delay the next release of 3 more hostages after accusing Israel of failing to meet the terms of the ceasefire, including by not allowing enough tents and other aid into Gaza. So President Donald Trump said that Israel should cancel the entire ceasefire if all of the roughly 70 hostages aren't freed by Saturday. And Hamas, in its usual way, just kind of brushed off the threat on Tuesday, doubling down on its claim that Israel has violated the ceasefire and warned that it would only continue releasing hostages if all parties adhered to the ceasefire. Yeah. Okay. Right. So anyway, it says that it also says here that the war in Gaza could resume in early March if no agreement is reached on the more complicated second phase of the ceasefire, which calls for the return of all the remaining hostages and an indefinite extension of the truce. So, yeah. Anyway, so Israel is preparing for war, but praying for peace. That's usual. That's typical for that. All right. So, Bam, you're always on it. Bam said, do we have a pet of the week? No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have a pet of the week. Why do we not have a pet on the week? Pretty simple, because nobody sent in their pet this week for pet of the week. For those that are new to the program, Pet of the Week is the segment where I highlight and present a pet of one of my listeners who has sent in, and we've gotten some fantastic ones over the years. It's just all you need to do is send in a picture, a couple of pictures. We've even done videos, and it doesn't have to actually even be a pet. I mean, we've done stuff like hummingbirds that have come by your place or whatever, just because it's kind of cool. But yeah, you should send that in. Send it in to fans, FANS at AmericanPerspective.online. Catching a drift here? Fans at AmericanPerspective.online for sending it in. I also do, for those of you who are new, I also do a segment on Saturday called I call it Question of the Week. It's actually also known as Question for Whiskey, which, by the way, Whiskey is my former show, Whiskey Musings. I know I'm kind of mansplaining here, but I gotta do it for some of the new people. But anyway, I am also known as Whiskey to all of my Whiskey Warriors, hence the reason Whiskey Warriors. So anyway, so there you go. But yeah, so all of that, of course, and the question of the week occurs on Saturday, and it could be anything. It could be any kind of question, something on politics. It could be something personal. It could be, although personal questions, I reserve the right to not answer, depending upon what it is. But anyway, the point is that yeah. So, and of course my chat is once again going off. There you go. My chat is once again nuts. They're talking about like cute little spiders. We did have a spider. We had a daddy long legs, at one point. Coco de Whiskey. Well, Coco D, insert name here, said a cute spider. And then of course, Bam says, gee, there's no cute spiders. So anyway, we did actually have a spider. It was Sir Legs-a-Lot at one time. And then we also had a little story about Wilbur and Charlotte that came on the program too. I sort of had to improvise for that one. But anyway. Oh boy. All right, folks. Yeah, that's pretty much about it for me. You guys are great. I do love you. And hopefully we'll be able to get Todd on the program, and Todd can enjoy the Whiskey Warrior P1 humor and everything directly. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has come here. For those of you who came from Todd's The Hot Seat, I do appreciate your coming here. Hopefully you come back. That would be fantastic. And do me a favor, if you can, head on over to the other show when you're on the hot seat and just kind of say, hey, you might want to check out this channel or this other show if you really like it, because I'd love to expand my channel here. That is just fantastic. I keep putting out the goal of 10,000 subscribers every year. Until I hit it, that's going to be the goal. So there you go. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up and like buttons across all of my platforms, whether it is X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We'll see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.